I'm Kayleen, and today I'm going to teach you how yeast works in bread by making 2 loaves of bread, one with yeast and one without. First, we're going to make the bread with yeast. We're going to start out by pouring 1/4 of an ounce of yeast into 1½ cups of water. And we're going to let that dissolve. Yeast works by eating the sugar from the bread. So to make it not salty, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now that the yeast is dissolved, we're going to add it with 1½ cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of oil, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to lay down plastic wrap so we can wrap the dough in it and let it rise for 30 minutes. Now I'm going to put the dough into this plastic wrap, and then we're going to tightly wrap it so it can rise for 30 minutes. Yeast is a single-celled organism that feeds on sugar. When it feeds on sugar, it gives off carbon dioxide gas, and that gas produces bubbles, which is what makes the bread rise. While we wait for the dough to rise, we're going to start on the one without yeast. We're going to add 1½ cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of oil, 1½ cup of water, a teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now we're going to slowly add 1½ cup flour more to the dough without yeast. Now that I'm done mixing the dough without yeast, we are going to pour it into a bread pan. And we are going to wait till the dough with the yeast is done rising to add the remaining 1½ cups of flour. Now that the dough is done rising, we're going to put it in this bowl and add the 1½ cup of flour. Now that I'm done mixing the dough, I'm going to preheat the oven to 425 and pour the dough into the bread pan. This is the one with the yeast. And we are going to bake these 2 pans of bread for 30 minutes and then compare the 2. Now that the oven's preheated, we're going to place the 2 bread into the oven and let them cook for 30 minutes. Now that the bread's done, I'm going to take it out and let it cool down. Now the bread is all cooled down, so we're going to take it out of the pan. And we are going to cut the 2 open to look at the inside. Rip it open. This one looks like normal bread and has all the bubbles from the yeast. And the yeast ate the sugar and it produced carbon dioxide bubbles. And that is why the bread looks like this. In this one, it didn't have yeast, so it does not look the same, and it is not as tall. And that is how yeast works. Thank you for watching my video on how yeast works in bread.